Now, today we're here to talk about search. And let's do a bit of a recap in terms of what we saw in search in 2016. What we often heard throughout the whole year was, the robots are coming, the robots are coming. It sent marketers into a frenzy. Artificial intelligence, voice search, chatbots. We heard time and again marketers ask the question, how do I plug into this world? Is there something I need to do today to prepare for this world tomorrow? This is also by far my son's favorite slide. Every time he runs this one, he's like, show me the robot slide again, show me the robots. But ultimately, we did see a lot of articles, the media talking about robots. And today, both Google and Bing are saying that about 20% of all mobile search queries are voice by nature. It's a pretty big jump all of a sudden, 20% in a very short time frame. So the key question we ask, how do we plug into this world? Is it ready for us today? Well, let's go ahead and find out. OK, Google, where can I find the lowest flight from San Francisco to New York tomorrow?
Flights from San Francisco to New York City leaving February 2nd and coming back February 16th start at $487. The shortest flight is about 5 hours and 5 minutes long.
Awesome. Great. All right. OK, Google, which specific airline can I use to book the lowest flight from San Francisco to New York tomorrow?
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help.
So, great technology. Amazing. Very utility-oriented. But is it ready for marketers to plug in today? We think the answer is no. But we're going to continue watching and monitoring throughout the year, and so should you. Amazing technology has the opportunity to disrupt everything we're doing today. But again, we're going to focus today on the here and now. Where do you need to focus to go ahead and make sure that you have the optimal search program in 2017? So when we first started looking at search in 2016, doing all of our analysis, what we found was that the estimate for search, according to all the search analysts, was that the search market would grow 6% in 2016. And to be quite honest, we got worried. We're like, wow, is search really starting to slow? Has search lost its mojo? But when we actually exited the year, what we found was that the analysts drastically underestimated search. It grew by 16%. That's huge. And as we look into 2017, the growth trajectory is 13%. That's $4 billion in incremental spend. And so when we ask, well, where do we think search is? Do we think it's lost its mojo? We say search is back, baby. It's back. Search is cool again. So today we want to discuss 3 important trends that we saw in 2016 that we expect to carry into 2017. The first, preparing for a mobile-first world with increasing granularity. Second, visual search, consuming search. You heard a lot today about, from Chris Costello about visual ads and shopping ads. And today, over 30%, if not more, of all impressions are shopping related, which means they're visual in nature. Third, scaling audiences. From our point of view, not having a search strategy around audiences is not tapping into the opportunity. So we'll dig into that as well. Now, let's start with our first mobile survey. So everyone, please pull out your apps. And we'll spend 30 seconds. You just have to pick one of the questions in terms of which specific item. So what we got here is, what is the top mobile investment you're looking to address in 2017? You got all these options, or at the bottom, none of the above. And we'll share with you these results at the very end. All right, let's move on. Now, let's start with moving towards a mobile-first world with increasing granularity. Now, one of the biggest initiatives we had this year was extended text ads. And we all went in this with eyes wide open, trying to make sure that we could really capture this opportunity. When we started looking at the data, I often have people ask me, Paul, you're right in the center of everything, all the action. You're working with the publishers. You're working with products. You're talking to clients. What's happening with ETAs? And my response is, I don't know. I think people give me too much credibility having white hair. They think it's called wisdom. But I'm just looking at data just like you guys. And when we look at the data, here's what we find. If you look at between May through December, all of a sudden, on the top is expanded text ads. On the bottom is a blended of expanded and text ads. All of a sudden, we see the click-through rates are starting to even out. And we scratched our heads for a little bit on this, wondering, like, what's going on? We spent 6 months preparing for this, optimizing our ads, migrating everything over. How could it be? Did we waste our time? Yes. But when we click down into the data, when we look at the remaining results, the remaining standard text ads that are still running, what we find is that first, over 60% of all of our spend is now running through extended text ads. Great progress. But the remaining standard text ads that are still running, they're running because they're kicking ass. These are the ads that you have spent the last 15 years optimizing, making sure the creative is tight, it's working very well. We shouldn't expect in 6 months, all of a sudden, extended text ads are really going to knock standard text ads off, out of the picture. So these are your best performing ads still. Now, what gets us excited about this metric is that you've optimized the creative for years, 15 years of optimizing the creative, which means that the story you're telling, the creative, it's working very well. We often focus on the science of marketing, but I'm excited to really see the art coming back. This just means that the story you're telling is working. Storytelling has never been more important when it comes to marketing, and we're excited to see that beyond focusing on the science of marketing, the art of marketing is still a big element here, and we have to make sure we get that right as well. Now, the last piece here was we started looking at the mobile trajectory, and so you can see around October, all of a sudden, the click-through rate started going down. When we look on the right, what we see is around October, mobile really started kicking in. So all of a sudden, in the red box, you see mobile text. On the bottom, it's cannibalizing desktop text. And on the top, you can see mobile PLAs. Mobile is definitely eating the world. And so I have to give credit where it's due. When Google was looking at the timing for extended text ads, they couldn't have timed it better, because the objective here is to prepare for a mobile-first world. And when you look at the timing of when mobile really started kicking in around October, we're prepared. We're now ready and gearing up for the consumer to prepare for a mobile-first world. Let's see. OK. The next big area you found in 2016 was around the right row removal. And again, another step towards a mobile-first world. Now, what really happened here? What was the result? And we blogged a lot about this, but the result was not much really happened. The click-through rate went up marginally from 2.2 to 2.3%. It's OK. But CPC, click, spend, they really stayed flat. What we did was we removed the right rail. We reduced the number of ads that were available. And so what's happening is this real estate is becoming more premium. If you want to succeed and make sure that you're where the action is, it's important to make sure that you're optimizing for not bottom of page, not page 2, not page 3, but where the premium action is happening. Now, with some of these changes, we also saw that a lot more granularity was introduced into mobile in 2016, specifically the ability to optimize at the device level. And this opens up a whole new bunch of opportunities. The first thing is being able to really think about, are there mobile-first campaigns I should be focusing on? Is there an opportunity to optimize by device? A lot more granularity. And then 3, should you be reevaluating how you're allocating your dollars, not just holistically, but by device? All opportunities, but all creating more granularity and more work. So how do we get our arms around this? The way we think about it, we talked about fear of the robots, but our message is embrace the robots. Give them a big hug. Give them a high five. The more value-added ways that you guys can focus your time and efforts is around, again, storytelling, finding opportunities, pockets of opportunity in the market, things that machines can't do. Let the machines handle the repetitive, non-strategic tasks. And we've got things like things that you heard about today, mirroring, structure optimization, all these different opportunities to be able to automate the basic operational tasks that don't bring a ton of value. So being able to leverage automation, a big opportunity. But don't take my word for it. I'd like to introduce Mike Wojciechowski, who's going to talk a little bit more about the opportunity with mobile and optimization and taking advantage of this granularity.
Hi, guys. So I'm Mike. I feel like Jacob's intro is a little bit easier, but just to give you some background, I run a small but hungry team with my colleague Evan back there at an agency called Elite SEM. We're pretty much the only agency that has gone 100% into full service feed management and campaign management. Our clients have one person managing their feed and their campaigns. So I love working with Kenshoo and Z and everyone else because the growth that they're seeing is the growth that our team's seeing, and we get to watch our team grow as their product grows. I can be really blunt with them, tell them we're never going to use this feature sucks for us, make it better, and they can be really blunt with me and say, 10 other agencies are using all these features that your team doesn't even know is there. So in terms of how this all ties into mobile, well, here's another slide that just shows you what you've already seen probably 1,000 times. Mobile's growing. I believe that our agency is growing a little bit quicker than some of the slides that Kenshoo showed earlier. But I would say, to me, this is not the whole story. You don't need to hear over and over again that mobile is growing. The maybe lesser known piece of this story is that it's also still cheaper. We didn't expect this to happen last year. I would say when we tried to make forecasts for our division, what we thought would happen was that Google would charge us more for mobile than on desktop. It would catch up, and we would sort of be screwed for a lot of our clients that were getting away with very, very cheap mobile traffic. So to me, this is big, and you need to bring this back to your companies when you get back to your job next week. Don't wait on making your mobile site better. We know that you guys have struggles getting people to convert on mobile. Don't laugh at us when we cross-sell mobile conversion rate optimization and landing page testings. These things can be a better investment for you than giving us more money. And it will make our job easier if you guys can improve that. So go back, look at your KPIs by device, see if they stack up to this. See if you are getting almost half the cost per click on mobile growth this year. Because if you can invest more dollars in mobile at cheaper cost per clicks, you can increase volume and scale in a much better way than just giving us more money to spend on desktop or trying to increase the traffic for your desktop experience. So within that, my team's wheelhouse is shopping ads. And we have seen tremendous growth. Obviously, these numbers are a little crazy, looking at 137% year-over-year mobile shopping growth in terms of costs, while still seeing cost per click about half of the mobile search ads. So, I mean, for every e-com client we have that's selling retail products, this is what we're seeing. You know, we have seen shopping ads start to dominate the marketing mix, and the fact that shopping ads are primarily mobile shift the entire marketing mix to mobile. So I would say what you should think about is more or less what we've been talking about all day. It's going visual. People want images to experience products. While we definitely want to sync up with the search side, we do see that shopping is going to increase more and more, especially in terms of mobile traffic. So what do I do with all this data? Obviously, you guys know the trends are pretty good. Shopping ads are doing well. Mobile shopping ads are doing especially well. But what's the next step from there? I am fortunate, and maybe it's unfortunate sometimes, to get to talk to a lot of marketing executives, CMOs, CEOs, who are always asking me, how can I grow? We're growing a little bit, but I don't need you to just get the same return on ad spend. I need to increase my budget by 10 times. How do I do that? What are the levers that I can pull? Where is the biggest area of opportunity for me? So I feel like there's a million things that I can say. You guys have heard about a ton of opportunities today, but we always try and boil it down to one thing for them. And we say, even if it takes us 6 months or all year, this is the biggest thing that we're going to do that's going to impact the way that you run your business and the way that we work with you. So that thing happened when Google gave us control over setting device-specific campaigns. They took this away in the enhanced campaign rollout a couple years ago, and we all hated it because they said that desktop and tablet perform the same. Even though they're a data company, we could see the numbers. They didn't perform the same. We just started paying Google more money for tablet campaigns. So with this rollout, we've actually been able to create a strategy that treats each device differently and gives each device the attention that it should get. So it was kind of rolled out in the summer, and to be honest, I don't think a lot of advertisers have shifted to device-specific campaigns. It's kind of scary because you're just triplicating every campaign you have. You're losing all the historical data that was housed in that old campaign. So how do we get there? Well, we get there by using a tool like Kenshoo to scale. Like Paul mentioned, we have to trust the robots. I can't triplicate 1,000 campaigns into 3,000 campaigns into 25,000 campaigns without knowing that I have a tool like Kenshoo to both be able to do the scaling of bulk creating new items and not freezing when I'm trying to do that. I can't do it without having reporting of what it looks like before and after having everything rolled up into one campaign with all devices versus afterwards where each device is in its own campaign. You need to set those things up before you do a transition like this. And we've been able to work with Kenshoo on all those pieces. The piece that's left is bidding, right? Kenshoo is able to handle thousands and thousands of more new campaigns, read the signals that relate them together. And it's not like we just give them the key to the car and let them ride away with all of our new campaigns. We also have to tell them how to group things, what we think is going to happen by breaking out things by device. Set budgets, like Paul said. It's kind of awkward for us to ask for that from our clients because we haven't had that conversation before. We haven't asked them, well, we know that mobile has performed like this for the last 2 years. Maybe we should have a different budget for it. In the same way we get a different budget for display or non-brand search or YouTube. Maybe mobile should be in that separate bucket because it is what's driving the majority of your business right now. In terms of the other levers that we get to control, which my team loves, that all of a sudden we can add negative keywords by device. It's not something we've ever been able to do before. And when you think about sort of the best way to grow your accounts, it's not just sort of to sit at the same ROI, it's to push and then suppress all the bad traffic. So I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but I would say the only other of these controls that you guys all already know what they do for campaign management that we think is really cool is time of day modifiers and day of week modifiers. For years, we've been getting these charts from Google that tell us people are on their phones at a different time of the day than they're on their computers. People shop at work, stuff like that. But we've never been able to break out that traffic into two different groups. We've never been able to add day parting modifiers to be able to push up traffic when people are on their phones and when people are on their desktops during the afternoon. By having everything in their own campaign, we're able to do stuff like that. We're able to easily report on it because it's in its own campaign. It's not just hidden as a modifier with all the other devices in one campaign. So I would say that this is going to be the biggest change that impacts your business because our account managers are going to be able to spend more money on mobile, and all of the clients that are spending money on mobile, specifically on shopping ads, are going to push CPCs up because we're going to be able to find the areas that work. And using a tool like Kenshoo, we're going to be able to show numbers like this, where we see a 66% revenue growth, 52% return on ad spend growth for just one of our smaller clients who was able to roll this strategy out over the last few months. It is a lot of work, but there's a lot of payoff for doing it. And I would say you should even be thinking about this in terms of audiences as well. You could be getting these kinds of numbers by also layering on a ton of audiences. So instead of just device-specific campaigns, it would be device-specific campaigns plus a ton of remarketing lists and customer match lists to segment your campaigns 1,000 more times and hope that Kenshoo's little dancing man doesn't show up on your screen. So I'm going to turn it over to Z right now to go into the next part of the presentation. Thank you for your time.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. That's amazing. A lot of knowledge here. We'll start with a quick survey. You may have done it already, but in the app, you'll find a survey, quick survey about audiences. I'll give you 30 seconds to review it and go through that. Hopefully you found your way in the app. So we talked a lot about, you heard a lot about the different options that we have right now in search, and shared a lot of great best practices. I think as we look on what happened in the audiences world, we think, you guys are search marketers, or at least most of you in the room. and your friends across the hall or in another building on the social side, for the past 3-4 years, they've been dealing with this problem almost every day. Because those of you that are doing social know that social marketing does not work without audiences, without strong audience strategy. You have to think about who you're targeting, you have to build custom audiences, you need to bring your email list, a lot of good stuff. And then we said to ourselves, okay, so what's happening? What happened in search? And why are we being pushed and pushing you to start thinking more about audiences? What has changed? So let's take a look. 15 years since AdWords was launched, we had keyword targeting, which is a great way to do audiences targeting. We target people based on their intent, but this is a way to go after audiences. We go after people based on what they look for. RLSA that was mentioned, it's another great way to retarget people based on their intent. Some of you are doing a lot with RLSA, adopting and growing. Some of you are saying, well, we need to check if it's incremental or not, but it's definitely an opportunity to go after audiences in a smarter way through your search campaign. But then, this is the past 15 years until 2015. What happened next? The past 2-3 years, our friends, the publishers, are driving a lot of innovation around audiences. Customer match, Google Analytics RLSA, shopping RLSA, the bid multipliers. Now we can go after audiences in a specific way, be aggressive on specific audiences that matter to our business. Obviously, we can go outside the networks. We can go into the Google Display Network. Similar audiences were announced. Yahoo and Bing are doing a lot of stuff with audiences. These are things that happen only over the past 2-3 years. If you don't believe us, see how much focus these publishers are giving to audiences. Why? See recently what's going on. YouTube search, retargeting, plus customer match is available. That's a few weeks ago, guys. And only recently, Google announced that the first-party, the privacy policy on the first-party data has updated, which probably means that you can do, those of you that are concerned about privacy should take a look and see what it means. My point is very simple. The publishers are going after audiences, and the reason is you guys have done an amazing job in driving performance on search for 15, almost 20 years. And to really push yourself to the next level, you have to understand the tools that the publishers are giving you to become more efficient and drive this performance in the next 5 years. Because as the world is moving to mobile, and the world is becoming more visual, the way to really connect with the next customer is through a smart audience strategy. So, not to overwhelm you, what you can do. First, my biggest suggestion for you is to start collaborating. If you don't have a holistic strategy that really understands what the other partner that is doing social, how they think about audiences, overarching strategy for audiences across search and social, you're missing, because you can do much more together. But that's not the only point. Even if it's challenging, and we are aware of the fact that sometimes it's challenging, try to understand what they're doing and what's working there. Try to understand what segments they're doing. How do they segment their audiences? What's not working? How do they approach them? They probably have done a lot in the display side and the social side that you can gain from. Second is leverage. We have a lot of different options today with audiences. So above the tools that I mentioned earlier, dedicated campaign for leading audiences. You can build custom campaigns for audiences. You can also use the bid multipliers and bid for those that are worth more for your business. You know it already. Creative. You heard a lot about it earlier. Not to be too repetitive, but the reality is that when you go after audiences, you have to understand how you speak with them. Those audiences don't want to see someone that has bought in the store or someone that has been on your website 3 times already. You probably don't want to show them the same creative as someone that is the first time it goes into your brand. And those of you that are doing it are gaining better results. And it's no wonder that the results on audiences, from what we hear from the publisher and what we're seeing in our data, are better. And then the execution side, align yourself to the opportunity. I'll give you a few examples. Top lifetime value customers worth more, bid for this, build audiences for this, build campaign for them, have the right message for them. Net new versus existing, so easy to execute now. You can exclude all your existing customers. Why not doing it? Why paying only for those that are not incremental to your business? Promotion driven. understand audiences that are driven by promotion. If you do a promotion for 20%, you get customers in the door that are new, and those customers are now new to your business, go after them again in your next promotion. Take advantage of the fact that you know they're driven by this 20% discount. And lastly, campaign mirroring that you just heard about. Think about how easy it is to scale it out into additional campaigns, to additional audiences, and create a full strategy using campaign mirroring across all the publishers. So these are all kind of tips and suggestions, but what do I know? Let's bring someone that really is dealing with this problem every day. So I'm going to hand it over to Jacob.
I only have one slide. There we go. All right. Is this thing working? All right, perfect. Yeah, so I'm Jacob Davis. I now work at Hilton Hotels. I started there in September, and prior to that, I spent the last 11 years working at various agencies. Some of my former colleagues are here. I'm not happy about that. The way that Hilton really looks at the world, first and foremost, is we have to think about, for us, what our motivating factors are and how best we can monetize the opportunities that we have. Hilton has a loyalty group that holds more than 50 million people in it, right? And I'm sure actually almost every person in this room has stayed at a Hilton hotel. We just have them everywhere. So for us, it's really determining what we want to do with those audiences and all of the different various options that we have. At Hilton, we can segment people based on the loyalty group that they're in. We can segment people based on if they stay midweek or if they stay on the weekends, if they are traveling and they book more than one room, what type of facilities they use. And it better enables us not only to reach search customers, but also determines what we want to do with new brands, with new builds, and it really does bubble all the way back up. So we're doing this, yes, in search, but also we use it just as an organization. So there are a few things that we think about when we're leveraging all of the information that we have and all of the information that we're collecting. And it's important for brands and for agencies to think about things the same way. The first being that not all audiences are created equal, right? If we're looking through, we have to determine what the value is going to be for each of those audiences, what we expect them to do or not do, and then basically from there determine what the next action is going to be. So for us, we may say our goal is pure revenue. And in that sense, I would heavily remarket to my most loyal customers, and for us, that's Diamond. So our Diamond customers, anytime they search, I'm going to show the top search ad because I've got an incredibly high likelihood of converting that customer because of how loyal they already are. The inverse could be that I only want incremental customers, and so I may not market to Diamond customers at all. I could actively suppress the entire audience, and I could, not send them any paid search advertising. I'm just going to assume that, again, because they're going to convert with me, I don't have to use paid money to do it. The second idea here is really around as you are working, if you're on the agency side, working with your clients, and if you're on the client side, being true with what you are actually trying to get out of it. Determining what the goals that you have are and how audiences can help you get there. Again, we could talk about the incrementality or revenue approach that I have, but I may have other goals. I may be looking and saying, I feel that one of the challenges that Hilton faces is we tend to have trouble with people on Sunday nights. Most people are not staying in a hotel on Sunday nights, so it's a huge area of opportunity for us. So we could look at remarketing campaigns for people that are staying on Monday, and we know that are business customers, and we could encourage them to extend into a long weekend that leads into their conference, kind of like what we're doing here. So that may represent an opportunity for us where we're looking at an audience it's very atypical from what we would normally do, and work our way around to try to motivate those people that we already know are staying with us. The third one here, which I think is really important, is, you guys may not have a loyalty audience of 50 million people. You may only have 100,000, and that's okay as well. You need to leverage the tools that are being made available to you, and lookalike audiences is a huge opportunity. Lookalike similar audiences, they all have roughly the same name. What we're really looking to do here is determining, who our ideal customers are, who those customers are that are going to help us meet and exceed our goals, and then identifying those that are incredibly similar and figuring out if we can market to them differently. Can we treat someone who is similar to a Diamond customer the same way that we treat a Diamond customer? Maybe yes, maybe no. You could also do the exact inverse and say, why is that happening? Why are my lookalike audiences while they behave in a similar manner, they're not converting at the same rates. How do we determine and prioritize those? And as an organization, do we want to adjust our structure and our goals to better enhance our ability to monetize those customers? Thinking about this historically, as was shown on the slide prior, we've been doing this since 2000, right, where we've had keyword intent. And I know that a lot of you in the room remember the days when we would have a bulk sheet and we would make a bid change, and then we would email an Excel document to our Google or Yahoo or Overture or whoever, those reps, and then they would manually make a bid change for you. And no one really cared about backend because no one really knew how to measure it, and it didn't really matter. But what we've learned is the same way that you've refined your keyword list, that you've expanded long-tail search. You have to do the same thing here with an audience strategy. Leverage what you already know about your customers. Leverage the past, inform the future. Make sure that you're making smart decisions based on data, and you can work your way through basically any goal that you may have, and you can find an audience that will apply to it. So it's really thinking about historically, if we've consistently optimized our keywords, eventually we're going to move towards really optimizing our audiences. Audience is going to play a huge role and will likely become more important than the keywords that are searched. Because at a certain time, if we think about the way that even display has evolved, where we've been able to layer DMPs and DSPs and SSPs and all kinds of other horrible acronyms on top of each other, we're using data to power our decisions, and we now know that we don't have to be 100% contextually relevant to ensure that that person may book with us. It's using what we know about the person and all of the other influencing factors to determine the ideal scenarios where someone is going to convert. It will still likely be in those places historically where you've seen growth from your keyword segments, but in some cases in the future it's not going to be, and that's incremental growth that you currently don't tap into. And then finally here is when to lean in and when to back out. There are going to be absolutely those scenarios where you're going to layer audience modifier upon, you're going to change a landing page or ad copy or the bids, or you're only going to have keywords when an audience segment is met. But there's also going to be the inverse of those where you're going to say, these are scenarios that I absolutely do not want to market to these people because they don't represent incremental business. They have incredibly low conversion rates. And you can work your way through every single audience segment and make determinations based on what the keyword is, based on the geo region or time of day. You can work your way through the entire thing and you can say, all right, these are the ones that if I don't invest this incremental money, they could go somewhere else. These are the places where if I invest money, they're coming to me anyway. It doesn't necessarily make any sense because it's actually hurting my holistic ROI. So as you think about the ways that you can leverage audience information and what you have, it becomes really important to think about these 5 things, and of course, tons and tons more. But really thinking about the different ways that the audiences that you are working with and that can be developed can work against the goals that you really have. We're going to be answering questions and whatnot. I'm happy to answer anything else after this, but Paul's going to come up and wrap up for us. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so let's go ahead and focus on the final area that we wanted to cover with you guys today. Visual ads swallowing search. Now remember, we come from a world 15 years of text, but already in the last 2 years we can see over 1/3 of the impressions are now visual in nature. So visual ads are swallowing search, and we want to make sure that you're thinking about and preparing for this whole new world. When you look at all the investments coming in 2017, we shouldn't expect further investments, innovation in text ads. We're going to see innovation in more visual premium experiences. They're premium, they're native, they're visual, they're mobile. But when you look at these new ad formats, showcase shopping ads, visual site links, Bing image extensions, responsive display ads, these aren't the same characters that you've seen in the past. These are more upper funnel opportunities. This is why it's making search grow and it's making search come back, because these are new opportunities to engage with searchers that are more upper funnel, focusing on awareness, discovery. This is how we start getting search more interesting and helping you grow your search program. But what do we know about image ads? We're text guys. We've been focusing on text for the last 15 years. One of the areas that we're focusing on trying to help in this area is, you saw the announcement earlier today around Creative Manager, being able to bring in all of your creatives and not just have them all centralized, but give you creative control. If you're waiting on your creative team to make every single change, you can't be successful. You need to get in there and test, to A/B test, to try new things. And Creative Manager will give you the flexibility to have creative control so that you're not having to go back and forth with your creative team every time you want to try something new. And I will reinforce Z's point that let's learn from our social media teams. Go introduce yourself to the social media team if they exist in your company. They've been toiling against these visual ads for years. Take the best, learn the best takeaways, what's working, what's not, the best practices. Take advantage of all the work that they've been doing over the last couple years. So to summarize, we talked about 3 areas today. Audiences. Step up to the mic. The audience is waiting for you to hear your marketing message. 2, this is where we are with mobile. It's a wave ready to come crashing on down on you. It's time to learn to surf like a maverick. And then 3, a visual world with visual experiences, more engaging, more upper funnel, more opportunities for you to engage with your audiences up higher in the funnel. But before we wrap it up, let's say mobile one more time. Okay, do we have time for any questions? Okay. Well, Jacob, Mike Wojciechowski, we're going to go ahead and just open any questions. If you guys have any questions for the audience and our esteemed guest speakers, this is the time. Oh, we got one over there from Chris in the back.
Audiences, how do you determine when to just use a bid multiplier versus using a different message?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will give the answer that you've heard every time. It depends. The challenge that we have is determining the ideal scenarios for when you do need to modify with creative. For us, one of the things that we look at is when we have a promotion, if someone is searching on a brand term, for example, and they're looking at a destination, we may push the promotion when normally we would give more product description. So instead of talking about how the hotel is a pool, restaurant, etc., we may say it's 30% off if you're an honors member, and encourage someone to stay with us. Because I know that I don't have to put the heavy sell message on them in terms of features, because I know that they've already been to the website, they've booked with us in the past. So we may adjust the creative message there and possibly even the landing page to better enhance, even though I may not apply a bid modifier against it. Is that good? Cool.
Great. Other questions? Wes, can you show the poll results?
So this one is, what is your biggest challenge to execute your audience strategy in 2017?
Leveraging customer match audiences. Great. Good timing. And the next one?
What's the top goal investment you're looking to invest in 2017?
Cross-device tracking and insights. This is probably one for the publishers. All right. Well, thank you again, guys, for all and gentlemen, for all of your attention. Thank you to our special guest speakers, and thank you for joining us today.